new this morning, special counsel Jack Smith's office is defending his investigators' handling of classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. In a late-night filing, the special counsel's office rebuffing Trump's attempts to have the entire case tossed based on the fact that some of the documents are no longer in the order that they were found in. Jack Smith noted that his investigators found boxes with their contents spilled onto the floor and insists nothing has been lost, much less destroyed, and there has been no bad faith. The court should see Trump's newly invented explanations and his motion for what they are. His latest unfounded accusation against law enforcement professionals doing their jobs. Isaac, there are pictures that we now have of these classified documents being stored with, here, let's put this up. It appears to be, are those golf shirts, I think? Pillows, classified documents. Our reporting says that, according to the filing, Trump personally chose to keep documents containing some of the nation's most highly guarded secrets in cardboard boxes, along with a collection of other personally chosen keepsakes of various sizes and shapes from his presidency, newspapers, thank you notes, Christmas ornaments, magazines, clothing, and photographs of himself and others. Now, classified documents aside, like, that could be my basement, but, like, what, I mean, like, this also, this filing was pretty sharply worded. I mean, clearly things are, escalating.
I mean, I feel like I packed up my college dorm room after freshman year a little bit more cleanly than this. But
you're referring to him packing up the Oval with all this stuff.
Yeah, look, I think one of the things that we're seeing here is that Jack Smith and his team very carefully documented every part of this. And they did it in a way knowing that they would get these kinds of motions and arguments from the Trump team. And now as the Trump team is making them, they've got new photos, they've got new bits of it. They have more information than they put out initially to undercut this. And I think that part of the lesson here would seem to be for Trump's team, as you go forward and make these motions, they might have more things that will undercut it because they clearly thought this through.
Yeah. Megan, I mean, this would be sort of some hasty packing as Trump is on his way out of the Oval Office. You guys were on your way in at the time. You were working for Biden.
Yeah, I mean, when we got there, everything was clean. As you know, the White House team does a really great job of doing that. I mean, I just think that this is not unlike when people are moving quickly. So clearly he was moving pretty hastily out. But let's not forget, it's not because he has them, it's he didn't want to give them back, and he didn't want to admit that he had them. So it's, I could see if this is their packing job, how you accidentally took some documents, but very chaotic.
It seems, Matt, go ahead.
It looks like my second bedroom. I just moved. I had a lot of crap I got to clean out at the show. It's reminding me of some things I need to do. I mean, look, I will say this. I mean, look, Jack Smith is not above scrutiny. He needs to be, accountable for these things, and he needs to make sure he's defending these things. And Trump has a right to challenge these things. My first thought reading this is also, you look at the dichotomy between Jack Smith and Fani Willis, where, like, look, regardless of what you think, you're going to prosecute the President of the United States. There's a high bar, obviously not just legally, but in the eyes of the public. You need to have your stuff in a row, and you need to have everything together. You can't do this haphazardly, and you can't go into it just willy-nilly. And it almost makes me think more like, wow, like the Georgia folks, like...
There's a guy that I used to work for who used to say, you got to play error-free ball.
Exactly, right? And so, you're going up against, just again, not a court of law, you're going up against a ton of different things, and the dichotomy couldn't be more clear, no matter what you think of the cases.
CNN's Evan Perez is outside the courthouse in Florida. He has been in that court watching these proceedings. Evan, these pictures and the conditions found in the search are expected to be part of today's hearing. What are you expecting to hear today?
Yes, Sarah, look, this is a reminder from the special counsel, from the prosecutors, I think to remind the judge of exactly the condition that they found these documents when they got to Mar-a-Lago back in August of 2022. One of the things that the prosecutors write in this filing, they say Trump personally chose to keep documents containing some of the nation's most guarded secrets in these cardboard boxes. And you can see, I think we'll show you a couple of these. You'll see some photographs that were taken by Walt Nauta, one of the co-defendants, one of the former president's co-defendants, and you see the condition in which he found the boxes when he went down there to take a look before he was moving them to the former president's personal residence. And also, you can see in some additional photographs, there's a thank you note that the former president had written to some families at Sandy Hook, and another one that shows you some of the other knickknacks that he was storing along with these documents. Now, part of the argument that the former president is making in court today is that because the order of documents was disturbed, was changed, that this harms his ability to defend himself. And of course, prosecutors are pushing back, saying, look, this is not a pristine filing system that you're seeing right there in those photographs, Sarah.
All right, and I do want to ask you about the gag order that the prosecutors are asking for. The judge seemed to be pretty skeptical about this, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't look like that she's going to be granting that anytime soon. I think one of the things that you heard in court yesterday, she wanted the prosecutors to sort of directly connect some of the former president's comments. He's been saying things that, you know, for instance, that his life was put in danger during that search. Mind you, he was not in Mar-a-Lago, he was not in Florida when that search happened. And so what prosecutors are saying is that this puts these law enforcement people in danger. Perhaps these people are going to be witnesses. And what the judge was saying is, look, we don't have enough evidence yet, and so it looks like she will simply say, let's wait and see before we make a restriction on the former president like this.
Evan Perez, I know you'll be watching all the developments today. Thank you so much. That hearing could get underway anytime. Appreciate it. John?
All right, with us now, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree. Counselor, great to see you here. A lot of motion, I would say, going on down in Fort Pierce, Florida, but it doesn't seem like a lot of movement forward. What do you see?
I see a lot of motion, too. Look, Judge Cannon has shown that she's someone who likes to have lawyers arguing in her courtroom. There's some judges who decide cases on the papers and the briefs. Judge Cannon is not one of them. This is unusual in my experience, that she would hold what looks to be 3 pretty much full days of hearings, legal arguments, constitutional arguments presented to her by the lawyers to make sure she gets it right. I think part of it is that she wants to make sure that she understands these issues. She's relatively new to the bench. These are complicated issues. But of course, one consequence of all of this is that it does delay the proceedings substantially.
Are they really complicated, or are they really in question, I should say? Is the predominance of legal thinking right now, do they think that it's a toss-up in any of these?
Well, on the independent counsel challenges, those are arguments that I do think are complicated. To be fair, they are arguments that have been made before unsuccessfully. Defendants commonly challenge the qualifications, the serviceability of the independent counsel and fail. I think she wants to kick the tires a little bit on this, make sure she understands the law. She invited amicus participation, meaning not parties to the case.
Yeah, anyone else want to
third
comment on
parties
this?
to come in, and law professors and others to come in and argue before her. Again, all very unusual, but this is an unusual case.
And she seems to be frustrated with the prosecution, repeatedly telling them she doesn't like their attitude.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the most striking things from yesterday's hearing, is that the prosecutors came in, they presented their arguments as to why the gag order on Trump should be expanded, and somewhat surprisingly, Judge Cannon went after the prosecutors for adopting an inappropriate, in her view, tone toward her, and it ultimately led the prosecutors to actually apologize to her.
But look, the prosecutors, this isn't a mystery to them anymore. They know how Judge Eileen Cannon views them and maybe views this case. So how should that color how they go forward?
Well, look, I think they have to understand what they're dealing with here. They are not going to they're not dealing with a judge that generally sees their case favorably, and they have to act accordingly. I think that they are making these motions because they do have a legitimate concern that former President Trump's comments were placing the safety of FBI agents in danger. So they had to make those arguments. They presented them. I think they learned a little bit of a lesson in that they're going to probably try to tone back the approach that they take with this judge because she doesn't like it when they get aggressive with her. But these are the arguments the prosecutors have to make.
One of the things the defense is going to try to do is get Evan Corcoran, who was a lawyer for Donald Trump, his notes tossed. Likelihood of success here?
My sense is that those notes probably will come in some way, shape, or form. Look, the Trump team is defending this case very aggressively, and they have benefited from many rulings from Judge Cannon favorable to them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I suspect they're going to push hard to get the Corcoran stuff out. My guess is that Cannon probably will let some of it in, but she may well exclude parts of it.
And just in general, given how Cannon has behaved so far, if you're the defense, why would you make a motion on anything and everything under the sun?
You absolutely would. I mean, look, you make these arguments as a defendant in hopes that maybe you get the Hail Mary pass, you strike gold, she's going to throw the case out. Why not make it? What's interesting here is that she does seem to be giving very careful consideration to arguments that have been made before and have been pretty much universally rejected.
Seems like you get a hearing on anything almost no matter what here. Tom Dupree, Dupree's Diamond Blues, great to see you. Thank you very much.